All right, so welcome to another episode of the Fitness Business Freedom Show. I'm obviously your host, Justin Hanover, and this is going to be a unique episode. I'm excited to be able to obviously have the founder of Fitness Revolution with us, and this is going to kind of like a State of the Union type of episode, kind of giving you an update of like where the fitness revolution is, like where we were, where we come from, where we are now, where we're going, and what that looks like. And this is a good time to do it as well because we're also going to be transitioning to season 4 shortly of our podcast, and we're excited for that. And that's going to be all around talking with some of the top producers in the fitness space, top brands, and really pulling the curtain back on what they have going on and sharing those insights with you. So, with that being said, well, Nick, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So, in terms of like kind of giving this update, I think let's obviously start with the past, and let's kick off with what was the beginning of Fitness Revolution? What did that look like? I know you originally started in the franchise space, but like that can you kind of paint that picture a little more clearer as to what it looked like?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess big picture, like the story with FR was been around for a long time. It started in 2010, and it's a story of like big changes, big evolutions, and I think for the most part, they've been good evolutions. It's been good steps taken. And the first was when we got what we did. We had information products, business coaching, best practices, that kind of stuff, and decided like we were going to roll that up into a franchise system and become a franchisor. And we actually did 2 franchise systems, one for adult fitness and then one for youth fitness. So we had Athletic Revolution, which actually came first, and then Fitness Revolution, which was essentially, a step behind. But the adult fitness quickly overtook, and as far as demand goes, and so that, FR is the one that outgrew Athletic Revolution pretty quickly. Well, I think it was a good idea going into franchising, especially at that time. It's like the barrier to entry to becoming a franchisor got quite a bit lower in 2010-ish, maybe late 2000s. And so, we were going to go in and try to take advantage of that opportunity. What we found out, and this is kind of leading to like our first big pivot, was that the burden that comes along with being a franchisor, with particularly administrative, just wasn't our strength. And it also was not what the market wanted. The people that we were working with, we had a pretty good following, and we're doing well selling, growing the number of franchisees, but they really weren't coming to us because they wanted like these rigorous systems and requirements. And so, we were like, had to bulk up operationally to be able to support something that they weren't really seeing the value in, and it wasn't our thing. So, in 2014, I believe we like moved from being a franchise. We unwound that, transitioned into a license, and began to focus more on the business coaching, which was our strength. And so it started out as a franchisor. There's actually 2 franchise systems. We ended up merging the 2 of them and then transitioned it into a license, which, it was like getting back in our lane. Which, if you've been through it, scope creep, and then you like get refocused, it feels good and it produces. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, obviously there's a totally different mindset between someone looking to open up a franchise where they're kind of more, like you said, wanting that business in a box type of thing, where it's like everything is completely done. There's almost like there's thinking required, obviously, but like it's removing as much of that as possible to where it's just like do this, 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 this.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, what you're seeing though is like people were really looking for a way to, let's say, like have a framework to being able to bring their idea to life,
Mm-hmm.
and not feel like you mentioned, like that they have to conform to something and build a business that isn't like necessarily lighting them up.
That's exactly it. They didn't want to give up all of their identity and their independence, their autonomy.
Mm.
They wanted guidance. They wanted more like a framework level of input. They wanted to like learn and grow and develop their acumen, their understanding, to be able to think a little bit more. So yeah, that it only made sense to us at that point to make that switch back, and I think it worked out well. The market liked it.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. How long were you guys operating from that standpoint of like the franchise perspective before making that switch?
4 years, I believe it was the middle, like June, July ish of 2014. I believe when it was when we made that transition, and it took several months to get through everything. But yeah, so 4.5 years.
And then I know part of that, like you guys with stepping into more of offering, obviously, then that one-to-one coaching experience and guidance. That's when I was it shortly after that you guys made the transition to Indy to start like hosting more of your own events, and like obviously stepping more into that world.
Yeah. It was 2017 was when we moved to the headquarters from Elizabethtown to Indianapolis. And so we had been hosting our own live events, bringing customers and groups to us, HQ for, I mean, the whole time. But it really started picking up in like 2013, 14, 15, 16. By, 2016, we're like, it's just not the easiest. Elizabethtown, Kentucky is not the easiest destination for people to get to from anywhere in the country. And sometimes people were coming internationally. There just weren't that many direct flights to Louisville. And then there was another 45-minute commute. We're like, we're doing 2 or 3 events a month at one time. And so, yeah, every week there were groups. I mean, I would show up at the office and there would just be groups like going around the office. And I didn't even know we had people here now, which was exciting. But it was like, we've got to find a different place to do this so people can like make these trips much easier. And so Ryan Ketchum was in Bloomington, and like, we need to get me, him, Kelly, HQ all in the same place. So we moved HQ to Indianapolis, moved our team up there. And so that was 2017 until after COVID. And it was so we would have the space. I mean, we had conference rooms in our office. Out of I think our staff was 12 to 15 at that time. And I think we had 6 or 7 in the office. So we were almost 50% in office. But that's just logistically, that's what needed to happen to support the program that we'd put together. Our high performance mastermind program had taken off, so that was a big part of the need to accommodate the customer travel more than what we had in the past, because not only were we asking people to come to us frequently, but we were asking some people to come to us even more frequently. Like, if you join our program and then you may need to get on a plane once a quarter. And if you want people to stick with that for a longer period of time, you just try to figure out logistically how to make it fit for them. That was a big driver behind the move. It was like we were growing up.
Yeah. Well, like anything. I mean, there's always the next evolution, and I think that's where like businesses in general, especially fitness businesses, can get stuck, because sometimes they try to operate how they were at a new level, and you have to be able to see where things are going, obviously, and accommodate and making sure that you're somewhat staying like a step or two ahead of the demand. Otherwise, there just is a bottleneck there. And like you guys could have reached a point where, like you said, like the mastermind started blowing up, but if you didn't make that adjustment, it would have obviously started teetering off, because like people would have had friction there. But you obviously made the adjustment, reduced the friction, and allowed it to keep growing. And that is a business strategy in a nutshell there, of being able to see the demand, see that the friction point is, remove it, and obviously allow it to keep growing.
Yeah, it's anticipation and preparation without guesswork, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, we had to try to anticipate that. It wasn't hopeful. It
Mm.
was anticipatory.
Yeah, exactly. So now you hit on obviously this that leading up until to COVID. Uh, what did that look like for FR? Like kind of going through that time period of like with COVID and obviously then that kind of like leads us into where we're at now. But I think that's definitely important to is an important part of FR's history.
Yeah. So COVID, what it looked like, I mean, everybody kind of knows what it looked like generally, but I think there were some things for us that were, um, here's kind of my quick recap of COVID and my feelings about like what we went through. I'm really proud of the response that FR had. You know, I could walk through step by step, but we put together a plan and pushed it out immediately. I mean, yeah, as soon as it was the NBA game in Denver, I think that got canceled, or maybe the Nuggets were playing. But the next morning, like I was at the office at I don't know what time, but when everybody came in, I was like, "Let's go!" Everything we had just done some strategic planning like the week before, and I was like, "Hey, throw it away!"
Yeah,
Everything just changed, and so like we took the leadership team in, put together the response plan, had that pushed out. We did like 30 webinars in 60 days. Webinars on topics that like we hadn't thought about all that much, not in the way that we had to then. We hadn't thought about them in that way previously. So it was like, it was rapid mobilization, action, and our goal was like, we're going to take care of these CPs. Really don't know what this is going to look like, but it's going to take a long time. And so everybody needs to be like buckling in and get ready. And by the end of COVID, like you know we so we had we lost zero CPs during the coaching partners during that time. None of them closed their doors permanently from COVID. Nobody else is going to be able to say that. I don't have to
yeah,
ask because I think it's miraculous. We were like burnt out by the end of 21. Like I was shot. We left it all on the field, and I'm all right with that. Like that's just how I'm game to do it if that's what it takes. That's the good side. What was kind of disheartening is so I mentioned like how proud I was of our response when all this happened, how disappointing it was looking at the lack of leadership everywhere else in fitness. I mean, what I saw when I looked around and when I reached out to people to find out, like what's going on, what are you seeing, like what are you going to respond, like how are you supporting people? What I saw were people who are ill-equipped to think and act under that type of like when their responsibilities to themselves, their staff, their clients, like they were unprepared to be able to lead. I saw a lot of blank stares and I hate to lump everybody in with gurus, but I think this will make sense if I use them as an example. What I saw were a lot of people who were maybe had been perceived as gurus or the experts who were just looking around, waiting on somebody else to figure out what to do so they could copy it. And like, that ain't a ship that I'm going to be on again. I'll tell you that.
no,
I mean, I knew I didn't need somebody else. Like, I will find a plan for us before I will sit there and like let it, things just crumble around me. So that was just really disappointing. I know like nobody knew what to do, but your responsibility as a leader is to figure something out, not sit there and
yeah,
and that's what you saw out of people who you should expect more out of. So that was disappointing. But I think that it would probably be, yeah, the leadership is going to continue to grow overall, and hopefully we were able to demonstrate what we think strong leadership should be during that situation. And if nothing else, the CPs, the people who followed us during that time, saw like this is how you handle something that is so uncertain and threatening and scary and unprecedented, like it doesn't matter that nobody else knows the answer. You still got to deal with it.
Yeah,
Somebody has to lead here. So anyhow, I'll get off my soapbox on
exactly.
that. Sorry.
No, I think that's important to hit on. I mean, that's I I think it's good to have those kind of like shakeout events, and you see it happen every so often in the economy in general. I mean, obviously, we had like the big recession back in was it like 2008, 2009,
Hmm.
and it's going to expose the people that obviously don't have a solid footing to stand on, and really don't have, like you said, like they're just copying or like we're not a big fan of the guru mentality, but I mean that is what it is. I mean, like they found like maybe one trick or hack that works really well right now. How long it works, who knows? And that's the problem. If you choose to follow something like that, is you can easily find yourself in that place when the economy no longer supports that avenue.
Hmm. Yep.
So I think that definitely highlights really well the a big differentiator for FR and how we perceive things. And like that isn't, I mean, we're the exact opposite of that. I mean, we're walking alongside you. We're that trusted advisor. We're that partner in your business, understanding that everything isn't always going up. Like you're going to have highs and lows. You're going to have difficult times. And it's like, okay, who's going to be in your corner to help you navigate that? Or are you relying on someone that doesn't have anything like it like doesn't like and like once you go outside of their toolbox it's like you're on your own
Right. Are you
type of
learning
thing.
how to anticipate and be able to be agile and be able to adapt when things are off script or hard or something doesn't work? Yeah, I mean that's been part of that's always been important to us. You know, I've always said like we're not going to tell you what to think, but we are going to tell you what to think about, and we're going to
Mm,
prepare you to be able to act and think on your own. That's just I think critical thinking is extremely important as a business owner, and so we try to nurture that, and I think we do a great job of it, and it pays off for our people. The people that we work with. I think that's not an accident why we were able to have no CPs close their doors permanently during COVID. I mean, there were some that were forced to shut down, like shut down temporarily, open back up, shut down temporarily, open back up, shut down. But they were they were figure it out people at that point, and like we had built the critical thinking muscles, or they had built their critical thinking muscles, and hopefully we had played some role in that. But they had them, and that's what mattered.
mm.
And
Yeah.
that's just a like extreme example of what owning a business is like. You know, it
Hmm.
doesn't have shouldn't have to be have a pandemic to highlight that. You got to have those muscles being developed all the time anyway.
Absolutely. And that's like you shouldn't obviously have to have something like that happen to realize that. Like sometimes like we need those rattling moments to because like when things are good they can kind of like be like the kiss of death. Like it's like kind of can lure you to sleep and it get you to not really diving into the weaknesses and the cracks in your business because things are cruising along like you're doing good. So when we go through those types of things, if you have a healthy perspective on it, it can actually be a really good thing that pivots you into a really positive direction or like strengthens you as a leader that is only going to require if you want your business to be around for obviously 10, 20, 30, 40 plus years. Like you have to develop that type of perspective with how you address things. So like that's like you said, you hope you don't wait till that moment and find yourself in that place. But for those that came through that at the other end, I think it was a learning experience that they will forever, in some degree, be grateful for. To be able to come out of that so much stronger as a leader, an individual business owner, uh, than they would have if obviously everything just stays amazing.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I totally agree.
So now moving past that, so you can kind of take us into uh, now we're getting past like COVID and moving forward from that point and getting into where we're at now.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned by the end of 21 um, that, you know, we were out of gas, just shot. And so we closed the office in Indianapolis, and Kelly and we'd been coming to Florida seasonally for like 10 years. And we were like, let's just go. And then we decided not to go back. So then we closed down the office. But we just, going entirely virtual was something that we've been doing virtual remote coaching. Like our coaches are all over the country for like since 2010. Like we started providing virtual supports. Like we were doing the video calls when it was GoToWebinar or whatever, and the technology was terrible. We were probably not even doing video at first. We were probably just doing conference calls. So like we were ready for that. That wasn't a big deal. It did, like, COVID kind of gave us permission, maybe a little bit in our minds, and definitely with our customers, that like you just don't have to have that HQ to do what we're doing. If we do have it, fine, you can like make something good out of it, but we don't. It wasn't essential, so we went entirely virtual, and that also helped a lot with the like fatigue, burnout, and letting us kind of get our legs back under us. So that was end of 21, and we're still in Florida now. But the big kind of, I guess, season that we've evolved into with FR is like, as I kind of got my legs back under me, was thinking about what do we need, what does this next iteration of FR need to look like? And the one thing that I landed on, and part of this was because Justin, you had started working with us, and I think you and I had a great working relationship, and there's a lot of synergy there, right? So you're the guy who's like thinking business development, and like you're a step ahead of me on those things, and so it was just kind of a light bulb for me came on, like, hey, I need someone who can take ownership of some of these things, and so I realized like I needed to be figuring out like what's the superpower that I don't have that we need to acquire to keep like taking FR forward. And so this person with the superpower, Justin, happened to already be there, like working with FR as I was having this epiphany. And over time, we talked about it, and the plan kind of came together organically. And yeah, so we've kind of gotten to this place now where it's like I needed to formally, put you into a position where like we can let Justin's superpower be on display and be a driver, and also like it can alleviate a lot of things that I was having to do. So I don't get back into that like fatigue, burnout place again. Right. So, and that's kind of what we've evolved to now, where like Justin's role with FR now, at the beginning of this year, we adjusted our strategy, gave Justin, more ownership over like business development. Now it's November. That's gone well. Justin, so now has been moved into the president's role with FR, to initially thinking that it would be kind of counterpart with me as the CEO. But what it's shown is that like it's actually not necessarily counterpart. It's more he's forefront, and I've been able to just shift and focus exclusively like a strategic advisor. So he's taken even more ownership than what was expected earlier at the beginning. And I think it's gone smoother than expected. So it's been, I guess, long story short with that is, since COVID, had some time to realize what is the skill or strength that we needed to acquire to be able to like keep growing and keep moving forward. And so that's what it's turned, like how this has come about now with the shift in roles, when like have acquired that superpower, and like we are putting it out front, and it's a driver. And so like that's our current season.
Yeah, and I have to say I'm extremely grateful and blessed for this opportunity. Because like I say to you, I've said it multiple times, like gym owners are my people. It's like these are the people I love getting into things with. Like I love talking, I love strategizing with. I love like learning about their business, seeing opportunities in their business, serving them in all different capacities. So I mean, this is definitely a very exciting season that like FR is transitioning to as a business, and then also for myself. And I think the big thing is just with this transition is just kind of reinforcing our positioning in the marketplace and really showing our muscle in terms of like being true business advisors, because I think there's a pandemic of distrust in this space, and of people being burnt out and not necessarily having the right support that they need. So we recognize that, and that's something that we're really doubling down on in terms of like really showcasing our ability to be with you through the ups and downs, because that's really what the point of having a coach and advisor is, and a mentor in your corner, is understanding that it's not all going to be sunshine and rainbows. Like you're going to have difficulties, you're going to have things come up, and as we mentioned before earlier in this conversation, if you're relying on a particular trick or hack that's working right now, you will be rattled at some point. And that's why we're really focusing on really showcasing our ability to be a partner in your business without taking any equity. I mean, like that's really kind of how we view ourselves, is really being that person that is on the same side of the table as you, that is walking through everything, that's like being an unbiased source to vet your ideas, to keep you on track with your vision, to give you a proven framework with without you losing identity, without you seeing us as a crutch. I think that's the big thing too. It's like it doesn't do us any good or you any good if you need us to literally run your business, and that isn't what we want this relationship to be. We want this to be where you're developing and growing as a business owner, and having us as, like you said, your resource, your advisor, to make sure that you're removing, like, like emotion from your processing and how you make decisions, and being more calculated and strategic, and because ultimately that's how you win in business. It's like stacking up those good decisions, because every decision you make or don't make has a ripple effect in your business, and depending on whatever that is, it can be months, it can be years, it can be decades that you feel that effect of that decision. So having that wise counsel, if you will, around you helps minimize the effects of that, and making sure that we move you forward in your business in obviously the most positive way. And like I would say, like with that, and too, it's like realizing, I think it's been great to hear like the history of like FR and where it's come from and where we're going, and like us even like zero in even more on our strengths of the one-to-one highly personalized coaching experience, moving into more, adding more micro events, and even adding in more those in-person strategy days. Like those are the things that really move the needle forward. It's like we're not, if you haven't caught our drift yet, we're not into the flash, or like I can go into, it cracks me up with some of these events and these guest speakers that have, it's like, what relevancy does that have on your business? But without going down that path, like we want to make sure that we keep it focused on like what is actually going to move the needle forward for your business. And if that is you, like that's the type of person that you are, and like you want to understand that and make sure that every ounce of your resources and time is going towards that, then that's who we partner with. Like that's who we work really well with. I think kind of just reiterating too, it's just like the support that I'm having with Nick in this role too, and like, and having his advisory and like being able to guide me is like kind of we live what we preach type of thing, and we do that from internal out. So I mean, it isn't something that we're just saying and not doing ourselves. It is absolutely something we fully embody, and Nick has been a crucial role for myself in developing in who I am, and who I am as a leader, and how I'm stepping into this role, and fully embracing and understanding the rich history of FR and how we can leverage that and propel us forward, into more of our strength. So, I mean, again, with that being said, I mean, we have a lot of like exciting things coming up with like enhancing obviously our one-to-one coaching, like I mentioned, at micro events, in-person strategy days. We also understand we see ourselves as a connector to solutions. We understand that we're not going to be able to provide every solution that you need, and that's not our point. Like our goal is to, as your advisor, to make sure that when you need a specific solution, we can guide you to that solution that's going to be the best fit for you. So that's why we've also been really expanding our strategic partner network, and with bringing on the right partners that have what we would say is the best solution for that category. And we're going to keep expanding that network as well, to make sure that our clients are getting access to, again, the right solutions at the right time. And it's people that have been vetted by us, that have the right, you'd say, like mindset and morals around how they conduct business, to make sure that what that looks like is obviously you getting the best outcome, and the best solution for that specific problem that you need solved.
So this, Justin, if I can interrupt for a second, this
Yeah.
is what, like, so hearing you talk about that is, I think, should be good. Like that's why I'm so excited about the future of FR, because like Justin came in, we have a conversation, and this is like, a year plus ago, but he's like, look, what about this? Why not this? Why not this? And it basically, a lot of the answers came down to, well, can only do so many things at one time. He's like, I got it. If you give me the green light, I got it. And he starts making these things happen. And so, like, for one, that kind of alleviated some of that bottleneck, that things that had to go through me. But also he demonstrated like that willingness to take ownership, having these ideas that were not just like hope ideas, right? He felt a need, and there was some demand. Like, he anticipated where we can take this, where there's more juice to be gotten out of this opportunity. And so, like, that's a part of the way that I should describe this season. The evolution is like more of that, right? It's more kind of reinvigorating some of the existing programs, but also like expanding and adding some new like branches to them, so they can provide more value. So just hearing you talk about it, like, it's just that was a really clear example of what to expect out of us right now and moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we wanted to paint that picture. I mean, like FR, obviously, I mean, we've been around 16, 17 years, and we don't see, I mean, we start to see us being around for another 50 plus years. I mean, we're not going anywhere. I mean, it's just different evolutions, as we've been pointing out, and seeing what is needed by you, and the demand that's needed. And we obviously adjust to make sure that we keep meeting that demand. But I think this has been a great conversation. I'd appreciate like having you on here, Nick, of like kind of being able to walk through and so, like, reminisce a little bit of like your journey through FR, and I think like painting a really good picture on where we're going with things, where we're at now, because I think that's important. Obviously, like whoever you decide to work with, I think you should know like where they've been, where they're going, like where they are now, and where they're going, and because like that's a service or support you're going to be investing in. So I think this was a great conversation to really outline that and kind of connect the dots for people.
Yeah, thank you, and I agree. And I just wanted to like tell you, I really appreciate leadership, and in particular, I appreciate your leadership and what you've brought and what it's opened up for FR.
Well, thank you. And I definitely appreciate it. And I've learned so much from just even observing you and Kelly, and how you both operate. So I think that's definitely, again, a testament when you surround yourself with the right people, you grow in the right way. So I appreciate the acknowledgement there, and I appreciate how you and Kelly show up, because when you allow that type of growth to happen.
Yep. Well, thank you.
Thank you. And as we kind of wrap up this conversation, it's just, I think, again, this kind of in our transition here is kind of like how we're wrapping up 2024. And as we head into 2025, it's like we're ground zero. It's like, let's go. We're starting again. It's like we're just getting started is the mentality that we have. Like this isn't, we're not looking at this in the perspective of like, okay, we're the head honchos here. It's like, no, it's we're round one, like, and then we're gonna step up again in 2025, and how we show up and how we provide and serve. So again, thank you, Nick. I appreciate this conversation, and I'm excited to hear some feedback from this conversation.
Same.